Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deeper, let's start the show.
Welcome to the first episode of Ramblings of a Busy Mind, my podcast, and I'm happy to have Tanya Levy here, a counselor, educator, author, and digital artist, and a dear, dear friend of mine who has the honor to be my first guest. And we're going to talk about burnout in your life, in which way ever. So whatever comes to mind right now, Tanya, you just shoot.
I think that it's really easy to get burnt out in the helping profession.
Mhm.
I think it tends to attract people who put others first, who are empathic and who kind of go and don't take breaks. So it's been some hard learned lessons for myself to take breaks. I've had some health issues that have got me to take breaks. And I'm sure that there are others like myself who my parents are now gone, but I was caring for my ill parents and I had a child, and there was that we're not just counselors, we're also mothers, partners, friends, daughters, sisters, cousins, all of the above, right? And so it's trying to find that balance so that there's space for yourself.
How do you deal with burnout in your profession? Because I know you're a counselor, so you're working with students that are age-wise older.
Oh, many ages. They're all adults, so they're as young as 17 and as old as me at 60.
And how do you deal with them?
I think that it's about being present and creating space for them to share their stories so that to help them have the permission to express their feelings and to teach them skills so that they can cope with stress in their lives. And a lot of times to remind them that they're the experts on their own healing, in the sense that they know what works for them and what doesn't, and to help them with tools so they can figure out what works.
We've taken some trainings together in the healing world, and
Yes.
one of the major concepts that I love out of that is holding space for others.
Yes.
Allows so much the other person to be whatever they need to be and doesn't have expectations on others. How often do you use that?
Every day. I think that what's really important is to, as much as possible, let the client or the student guide the process. And I also supervise candidates who are becoming counseling therapists. And as much as possible, my work with them is to be present and listen so that they can reach the goals they have for themselves. And it's hard sometimes because we can get caught up in this idea that we're there to fix people. But first of all, most people aren't broken. We're all just humans, spirits in a human body living a human journey, and we're on this journey together. We're all healing all the time. And so it's really about walking beside, listening, and helping people get further along the healing journey.
Yeah. How much was that concept of holding space a part of your training when you started out? Or how is it different the way you work today with the trainings you have also in the healing world and when you did your training as a counselor?
Well, my training was actually originally as a social worker. And that was mostly about understanding a person in their situation, helping them to function as well as possible. And so there was a lot of training on listening skills and being a good listener, and what does it mean to heal, and what does the healing journey mean. I think that what I've learned from energy work is how important it is to hold space and trust. that we don't have to have the answer right away, that we can wait and see what comes forward to support someone in their journey. Because sometimes waiting and being patient and holding space for the answers to come, people figure it out. And there's this energy force around us, this healing force around us that helps us figure it out.
Yeah. I know from where I came from, out of the business world, and at marketing and bookkeeping, accounting, whatever, into the healing, my perception, especially last 2 years, has completely shifted to I take myself out of the equation and try to let them have their own journey as much as possible and just be a guide in what they do. Because when I had my troubles with burnout, that it was anytime somebody expected me to be a certain way or do a certain thing, it never happened. Or it might have happened for a short term, but never for the long time. It was always just a little bit, and then I would fall back into those old patterns of, oh, it's so overwhelming, it's putting me in stress again, I can't deal with it, right? I don't know. Do you see that in your students?
I think that what happens sometimes is people come with an issue in the present and they want it fixed. And that it's hard sometimes to support them to just sit with it and kind of figure out if it's a pattern or a piece that's holding them back, or if they're missing, I don't want to say a lesson, but I talk to students a lot about the gifts and the things they're struggling
Mm-hmm.
with. Because, of course, when we're in a situation of high stress, all we can see is the stress.
Yeah.
But sometimes stress, like poor health, like when I had vertigo, was a teacher for me of how much I had not created the space I needed in my life to be healthy. And so people didn't come right out to say to me, we think you have vertigo because you don't create enough space for health in your life. They
Bingo.
just kept giving me healthy things they wanted to. They did, I'm sure. They just kept listening and giving me more healthy activities to try. And I kept going to different practitioners until eventually it became clear to me the things I had to do to heal and stay healed. And I hope that I can do that for the students that come to see me, to just be a guide to help them figure it out. Because really, at the end of the day, if they figure it out for themselves, they're going to be stronger human beings.
Having the energy training, and knowing the effects or the input that you receive through the energy, the cues,
Yes,
how much more are you tied into your body than you were before?
a lot. And right now, I'm trying to heal my body more, and I've started eating like more fruits and vegetables and focusing on really like food as close to the earth as possible, for lack of a better word. And I think that what happens when we remove some of the things that clutter our energy field, we see things more clearly. And then it's about helping others do the same thing. So I talk to students a lot about, like, how's your energy today? Like, is your energy high? Is your energy low? What drains you? What fills you up? And I talk to them a lot about nervous system regulation. So strategies to help them ground and center, because if they can ground and center in the midst of stress or chaos, it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I know. I love the breath work, the awareness of bringing people into their center with the in breath into the belly and then out breath through the feet, because
Yes,
creating centering and grounding in one. Um, but what I find is often when you use the word energy and instead of what does your body tell you, whereas what sensations come up, and then have them
yes,
guided through the five senses, it
yes,
it's hard for people that have not the training that we have, or have at least had some meditation experiences or yoga experiences, into the complementary world, they have trouble
Yes.
relating to the word energy as a information tool or information coming in. They're more going like, oh, nope, can't do it spiritual. It's out there, it's woo woo. Just let it
Mm,
go. Sometimes, especially when
sometimes.
completely blocked and brain person, like I was, and these days that's why I try to word very carefully, in the way of just what does your what do your senses tell you, and then go from there. um and then sometimes it just opens the path for the idea that there is a block that can be removed by doing the work,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I
um
talk to students a lot about noticing.
yeah, the
You know,
awareness, the
what do
awareness
you
part,
notice?
yeah, the awareness part of realizing our body gives us information,
Yes.
as I say, through the intuition, or your five senses. um and I find it's hard sometimes to, coming from the burnout and having lived so long in burnout, I couldn't even talk about my work with the singing bowls because I felt so much like a fluke. And nowadays I realize how much that was the part that I couldn't tell, that what happened in my body when I had the sound on me, not in my brain or in my spiritual or in my subliminal energy field, so whatever you want to call it, but just in the body alone. And that disconnect I find very, very strange, that people are so disconnected from their bodies. They're so in their brains.
Well, sometimes I'll ask students where they feel things in their body, like where do you feel that anger in your body? Where do you feel that sadness in your body? To try and help them connect. Where do you feel the feeling in your body?
Yeah, yeah. Is there any exercise that you would recommend somebody who has burnout or stress?
Well, usually I start with breath work. You know, hand on heart and hand on belly. And it's interesting because I've had a couple of students say to me that they taught me awareness because every time they told me something sad, I would put my hand on my heart. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And so over time, every time they started to feel something sad, they would have compassion for themselves and put their hand on their heart because they would mirror my response, and my response was unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even aware that I was doing that when they were telling me a sad story because it was so automatic for me to just put my hand on my heart and go, like, that's sad.
The innate healing
Yeah.
gesture.
And so they said that just by watching me put my hand on my heart, they began to have more compassion for themselves and their experiences and their story because they watched me do it.
So would you use that then more, in a more direct way than having like guide them with something? Do you want to do that?
I would usually say, like, put your hand on your heart and your hand on your belly and take a breath. What do you notice?
Mm-hmm.
Take another breath. I use emotional stress release a lot when you put your fingertips on your forehead
Mm-hmm.
and usually get them to just, release a couple of stresses through their feet, take a couple breaths, and then imagine their favorite color in nature and where would they find that? Because it's usually fairly easy for students to recognize a color in nature and find it. I use a lot of, connecting to Mother Earth with their feet. And if that's difficult, I'll just get them to like go outside and walk and just tell them to look at the trees when they walk. And they give me well, my mind's too busy when I walk. I can't look at the trees. So I say, well, look at one tree. And then they'll come back and they'll say, I was walking the other day and I noticed this one tree. Well, tell me about that one tree that you noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to remember that for those of us that are very mindful, it's almost second nature for us now, but it wasn't in the beginning. And so sometimes, we've all of us have walked somewhere and not even seen anywhere where we were walking because we were so caught up in the stress in our minds or our bodies. And so even that beginning to notice a tree is a big thing.
Yeah.
Then it becomes
One
a
color.
walking meditation.
Yeah, I know. I know, been there, done that. These days I have my eyes on the dog because he's running away. No, just
Yes,
joking. But still, um,
yes,
it's interesting how your perception shifts. And I know that having to walk the dog outside, I'm not as distracted because I have to pay attention to what he's doing and to what's
yes.
coming up. So I have to be more tuned in what's surrounding me, and also oftentimes I tie into innate sense. So if and I can't really say it's I see him and then I react. Most times it's in like instant. Like his head goes up and I know, oops, my gut's going like, okay, there's something coming. Just be aware,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. So if you could put one word out or one wish out, whatever you want to put it, whatever way you want to say it, um, an affirmation that you could give people when they're stressed, what would you, what that, what sentence that they could use? What would that be?
You would probably be I'm kind and gentle to myself.
We never are.
I see a lot of not being kind and gentle,
Mhm.
blaming others, blaming self. And what I say to students over and over again is this idea that we have that all of a sudden we're going to have a stress-free, happy, content life is really unrealistic. What I really encourage anyone listening to do is to seek joyful moments, or if joyful isn't the word you like, then happy, and happy isn't the word you like, then calm, and if calm isn't the word you like, then peaceful. Whatever word you feel comfortable bringing into your world, then seek a moment, and then seek 5 minutes, and then seek 10 minutes, and then maybe an hour a day you feel peaceful. And then one day you realize you're living a peaceful life,
Or find the small moments, and all together they give you about an hour.
right? Like a clothesline or a string of lights. And I think that we always think that so we get the peaceful life and then nothing, no stress happens, nothing goes wrong. Well, things always go wrong. There's always loss and grief. It's like in a garden. I think that a garden for me is the best analogy because we make a garden bed after we dig the earth and get rid of the rocks and get the soil and all that. So it's a bit of work to start something new in the garden. And then we plant seeds, and sometimes they grow and sometimes they don't, but there's always weeds. And so we can focus on the weeds or we can focus on the seeds and the plants. And most of us have a life where there's weeds and flowers, or weeds and plants, or weeds and carrots, whatever, you
And
know.
and sometimes weeds make the nicest flowers.
Yes,
Just
right?
because they're labeled weeds, they don't have to be weeds.
Like dandelions are usually show up when Earth needs some extra work.
Mm-hmm.
They're healers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dandelion tea and dandelion greens are actually pretty tasty.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're so focused on the stuff that's going wrong, we don't see what's going wrong.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to put your attention? Where do you want to put your energy? Where do you want to put your awareness? And on ourselves, we do the same thing. We look at ourselves and in the mirror and we think, oh, that's not, I don't like that part, and I don't like that part, and I don't like that part. Well, love yourself up. It's the only place you got.
Find
This is
the
where we
places
live in
that
our
you love.
lives.
Yeah, find the places that you love. Like I like my smile today. Might not like my
Yes.
cheeks, but I like my smile.
Yes.
And I find also the shift of perspective when you can find the little things in life, you can all of a sudden see the bigger picture because you're
Mm.
shifting the view to the nice things instead of to the bad things, right?
And that doesn't mean that the bad things don't hurt or they aren't hard or they aren't challenging. It's not to minimize those feelings and emotions. It's just to see the full picture so that you can let some of the light in. people with trauma have a negativity bias, which means that they see things negativity. That's the lens they were given, and it protects us, right? Just like many years ago in the world, if we were running through the forest, we would scream when we saw a lion. So we'd always want to be aware that what's where the negativity bias comes from. But when we have trauma, our negativity bias is heightened. And so then we have to learn to see the good.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes practice to see the good.
Well, you talk about seeing, and I know we're already at the 20 minutes, but we could just keep on going, and if need be, I'll make a second part out of that. But while we're talking about seeing, you do digital art,
I
and
do.
you take photos and you from normal natural things, whatever you see, and then you revamp them and remodel them into your digital art. And both of us work with intention with what we're doing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that can help with stress or burnout, where you see benefits
Well,
there?
I hear a lot of stories during the day, and I need to do something with that, right? Because I don't want to carry that or hold it or burn out from those stories, right? And so taking photographs of nature, of light, of sky, of trees, flowers, plants. I'm gonna yawn as a release, sorry.
We know that.
Helps me release that stress.
And here come I.
Yeah. And so I set an intention that the art that I create can provide healing and a rebalancing of the energy field to whoever looks at it.
Hmm.
And if they choose to receive it, because it's always based on consent, right? So if someone doesn't want to receive that, then it's just a pretty picture.
Yeah.
And sometimes I take special words in AI and create, like maybe I might see a gorilla in a tree, so I'll take it to AI and I'll create a gorilla in a tree, or I see a fairy in it, so I'll take it to AI, and all of a sudden there's an earth goddess in my, from my photo. But for me, it's about creating healing art so that people can look at it and receive healing.
I remember I I was looking at clouds before, but I never paid much attention to, like, really paying attention to shapes until I met you. And then I went to Calgary, and on the road to no yeah to no Edmonton, and then on the road to Red Deer, doesn't matter, but there was a cloud and that was shaped like an angel, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like a flying angel, like you have those paintings with the trumpet and they fly for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I would never have seen that if I hadn't known Tanya.
Well, the thing is that I belong to this group called Small Stones where we put small pieces of writing. And I started posting cloud hearts there and would write about them because it seemed that everywhere I went, I saw a cloud heart. And so they nicknamed me Heartlady. So that's what I called my business, Heartlady Inspiration, because they nicknamed me Heartlady. And now people all over the world who I've met through writing will post hearts on my Facebook page and say, saw a heart and thought of you. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's interesting because a lot of people don't realize how much input color, for instance, has in our life, and our energy levels, our concentration levels and work ability. So if you're in a room with the wrong color, you can shut yourself down, and we as energy workers know that.
Yes.
And the same thing, if you have colors around you that are not contributing to you, that's why I have two of your paintings in my office. And I just had to look where I have them. One is behind me and one is on the other side. But they contribute to the color spectrum. So I
Hmm.
have yellow walls usually, but with your paintings in there, I bring all colors in, and that's in my burnout time, there was black, blue, brown, and maybe a dash of red once in a while, but usually it was just those colors. There was never any other color. It was all dark and dull. And these days, I wear all kinds of colors. Not always visible, but having the color spectrum at my hand to enhance what I'm doing and how I feel is quite a big part being me who I am today, right?
Yes.
Um, do you do
And
that with
people
this?
respond to color.
Yeah, that's the thing. Would you ever consider doing or have you ever considered doing a special digital art series, like 2 or 3 paintings, for stress and burnout? Putting you on the spot.
Well,
Sorry.
no, but I could.
Yeah, and I would love to have that for my website because we're creating a burnout toolkit where people can go and get information and tools for download just as help support.
Sure.
I was just thinking of that because I know we've done quite a few things, but I don't think we've ever done that specific, right?
Well, I mean, I talk about how we need to give from a full cup because if we're depleted, and then we go and try to offer any type of healing work, whether it be counseling, coaching, teaching, when we don't have anything in our cup and then someone comes along that drains our energy, well, then we're running on empty. It's so much easier to give from a full cup to give from the overflow.
Yeah,
And for me, color helps fill my cup.
absolutely. What I find too is working with compassion instead of working just for business um, brings a totally different perspective to the work that I do, be that the admin work or be that the healing work, because all of a sudden I'm doing it with a different intention, and the intention is what feeds me and what brings me back to myself. Because if I have compassion for others, I have to have compassion for myself. Otherwise, I
Yes.
burn out, right?
And there's a lot of meditation practices that are just about sitting with self compassion.
Mm-hmm. Would you have any resource page that you would go to on or would give somebody who is in stress and burnout and that you might prefer, like something, I don't know, mindfulness work or whatever, just as a give?
Well, Christian Neff does a lot of work on self compassion.
Christian
Dr. Christian Neff,
Neff.
she's written a lot on self compassion. John Kabat-Zinn has done a lot of meditation and mindfulness,
Mm-hmm,
as has Stephen Levine and Peter Levine.
mm-hmm,
Deb Dana has done a lot of work on nervous system regulation
mm-hmm,
and polyvagal theory. And I think there's a lot of teachers out there on mindfulness. Sharon Salzberg has a lot of meditations. Tara Brach has a lot of meditations on mindfulness. So there's a lot of really, and lately I've been, Jillian Pransky wrote a book called Deep Listening, so I follow her on Instagram, and Jenny Mayo does movement. I follow her on Instagram. And there's some really good meditations on Insight Timer.
mm-hmm. There's more and more tools out there. The question is just, do they reach the people, and are they presented in a way that everybody can access them? Because I know oftentimes, again, our language determines
Yeah.
if we reach somebody or not. Um, and I just
Well,
hope.
Gaber Mate has a lot of material on YouTube that's very helpful because he
Mhm,
wrote Scattered Minds and The Myth of Normal. And Alicia Goldstein has started a podcast on there. He has some really good stuff. Rick Hansen and his son Forrest have just started a podcast on there, and a lot about like calming the busy mind, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, just
mhm.
looking for the good.
So we're gonna have some of them in the we're gonna have we will have some of them linked down or listed down in the caption of the video.
Yes,
I guess my mind's wandering again.
yes, of course.
So that people can actually find help or find some sources. And I think
Yeah.
that's what I aim to do with Ramblings of a Busy Mind, is just providing some insights and some ideas that might shift people's ideas.
Hmm.
Food for thought. That's the idea of Ramblings of a Busy Mind, right? Because we're never linear when we're in stress. We're usually pretty
No,
linear.
and I'm not sure I'm linear when I'm not in stress.
I don't want to be. Honestly, it's so much fun.
think I'm pretty neurospicy.
No, nice. That's a nice word. Neural spicy. Okay, I've learned a new word today. I think
Yeah,
we all have.
neurodivergent is now going towards neurospicy, and again, I have a lot of like there's a neurospicy woman who wrote a book on financial planning. It's lovely. Leonie Dawson has written tons and tons of material on ADHD and autism, and she's a billionaire entrepreneur. So
Yeah, it doesn't have to hold you back. That's the neat thing. It doesn't have to hold.
yeah,
You just have to find your way. That's the part. And you have to.
and then be yourself. Like
That's the
Leonie
part.
Dawson's first 5 books are in pencil, crayon, and marker.
Yeah. I
Like,
took her class on e-courses, I think, something like that, how to create a course. And it was so cool because it was like all over the place. But it was
yes,
so much fun. It was just really, really nice to see that it doesn't have to be, oh, now you do this, and here's your bulletproof.
yes.
And yeah, no, it's not me.
And it's a rabbit hole, right? Like you start with Leonie and you look up her resources, and then 20 people later, you're like, what was I doing?
Yeah,
But that's the fun part of healing, and is that sometimes the rabbit holes are give us amazing tools, right?
the journey is so much more interesting than the goal.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we have to have a goal. That's the part. Without goal, there's
Yes.
no direction,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So I'd say we call it a day for today. And I say
Thank you.
thank you for having fun with me. And I always love to have our conversations because it's going everywhere and nowhere. No, it's never not going nowhere. It's going everywhere in all directions, and everything is appreciated
Do
because
you know that nowhere is also now here?
good point. Good point. Language. Never talk to an author. They come up with crazy ideas. I mean, I'm one too, but you got me beat on that quite a bit.
Well, I read and write a lot.
Yeah. So thank you. And if people want to get a hold of you with the digital art, we're gonna share your Heartlady on the bottom in the caption.
Yeah, Linktree's the best one. Linktree Heartlady Inspiration because it has my Flickr and my Instagram and my
Okay.
Facebook and my website. And people can always reach me at caperpoet@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tanya. Welcome to the first episode of
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade, all the shine. Oh, welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deep, let's start the show. Questions, answers, here they go.